Hi guys. Well, if I have studied survival and then law, it's because I haven't always been a huge fan in math and never been in love with that branch at school, but was pretty average. Now there's something I know is that when it comes to survival, I don't like probability. I like certainty, and I'm making this video today because I did have a discussion with a friend of mine recently, and have seen also for the last years several people that count on something in their survival kit that is, in my opinion, more in the probability side than in the certainty side of survival. And what I'm talking about today is something that I have right here, which is tin foil. Now, you know that in the rule of 3 in survival, you have, well, 3 minutes without air, 3 hours without shelter from the elements, 3 days without water, and 3 weeks without food. So, which means that water comes in your first priorities, in some of your first priorities, after shelter and air, and depending on the conditions. But well, anyway, if you can make it to 2 days and 99% of the third day, you will be in really bad shape. So water is essential in a survival situation. Now, I've also seen that and discussed that with students. Several people build their kits without a container, counting on that flimsy stuff. So this is pretty heavy duty aluminum, which is called jumbo aluminum in here. I've used that stuff, even a bit heavier aluminum, and I can say that over the 20 last years I've been into survival, and especially the 15 last years I've tried and tested that technique with minimal survival kits that look like what you all have, which means a kind of Altoid tin box or stuff like that. I've discovered and I can tell you that it's almost impossible to count with a sufficient degree of certainty on aluminum foil for making a container for purifying water. The reason for that is, if you want to have enough foil in a small tin box or in a small survival kit, you have to fold it, and once you've folded your survival kit, your piece of foil in your survival kit, chances are that you want to add as much items in the small survival, in a small space, that you will be forced to, you know, really flatten that. And now when you really need that, or think you need that for purifying water, well, you could really have bad surprises. In my opinion, tin foil is a very useful item in a survival kit, but I would say, and this is my humble opinion and my own advice, do never count on a piece of aluminum foil to make a container for purifying water, because that stuff, if you want to purify water with any method that uses fire, of course you can make a large enough bowl in which you will add some stones, white hot stones, to boil the water, but having water that runs out of that will force you to use gaffer tape or something like that, and well, it's really too thin to repair for long term. So in my opinion, this is useful for making lid for your pot, for making a reflector for a small fire or something like that, for purifying pine pitch in the wild, for several other uses like signaling, showing where you are, even leaving your footprints behind when you are when you leave your base camp or your survival camp, but not for boiling water. Of course, something else I want to say, look at the size of that small box. Most of the tins you can find, or here in Switzerland, I don't know in the United States, but a lot of the small tin boxes of that size have a point where the tin metal is, you know, cribbled together and hammered so that it holds, and it's pretty much waterproof, but not totally waterproof, and may deform or also let water run out of the container. So I would choose something that looks pretty much like this tin box here, that has no point where water can run out of it, just the hinges in here. But you know, even that, you see how much you can boil at a time in that for survival situation. It's more a hassle than anything else. So I wouldn't count on my tin box to help me survive. I would prefer make a basket or something like that out of birch bark or any other container to purify my water than counting on my small tin box. If I don't, or if I didn't have anything else, it's okay. If I need water purified quickly, it's better than nothing, but I wouldn't count on that, and especially not on tin foil. Now, on the way to here, I found that. Of course, you can't count on finding that the day you need it in a survival situation. You can count on that, but if you find that you have a container that would help you purify water, and even here this is more solid stuff that allows you to bring water along with you on the trail. But in my opinion, there is something that I will never ever leave home without, and this is something that is right here. Well, the water bottle is something exceptional in a survival situation. A steel water bottle, it's even better because you can boil water right out of it. But something, in my opinion, that is even better is this, and I'm writing an article about that, about all the uses you can have with that kind of tool. It's more than just a cup. But dare tell me that this, in a survival situation, is better than this, or even an Altoid box is better than this. I have built like 3 or 4 survival kits in my whole survival experience around that, because that is not that big. You can find pockets that allow you to have it on the belt. When I go super light, I sometimes just take my belt and hold the cup on it. Usually I put it in the other way, but you get the point. You have something to easily collect water where you are. You can make a fire, have 4 deciliters of water, of purified water. You can dig the soil without any problem with that. You can purify pine pitch, which is always something that I consider pretty important in survival situation. You can cook, which is also great. Cook pretty much everything. It can be a hassle if you want to make pancakes or stuff like that, but anyway, in a survival situation you will probably not do pancakes, but you can also use that as a bow drill hand axle or hand piece. It works. You need a bit of time to get used to that, but it works. And well, in my opinion, is one of the most important pieces of equipment in my basic survival kit. Of course, what I really like with that specific one, this is a Tatanka stainless steel cup, is that you can nest any Nalgene or most of water bottles inside of it, so you don't even realize you have that with you. It gives you a lot of options for several things. You can also, if you have the time, you can, polish it to make maybe a kind of makeshift signal mirror, or try to at least. I don't say it won't take some time, but this is stainless steel. It's better than aluminum for cooking. You have more options, like if you want to make birch bark oil or tar, you can use that in so many different ways that I think it's really an excellent idea to have that with you in your survival kit, let's say, as one of the main tools. And having tin foil is great. You can use that with tin foil for several purposes, but I would suggest to any person that is not already into survival not to count on a piece of tin foil to make a container for boiling water in a survival situation. Perhaps build your survival kit around that, or bring that along with you anywhere you go, but don't count on tin foil. And of course you will have several ways to make that, and you can lose a lot of time while making a container for boiling water and purifying it, but this is, in my opinion, the way to go, because water is one of the most basic needs you will have in a survival situation, and you can do so much with a simple stainless steel cup. Of course, a stainless steel cup is okay, but also any other kind of billy can made out of coffee pots or something like that. It doesn't have to be as sturdy as that, but I really think that this is probably one of the best investments I've done so far, aside from knives, and this is the tool I use the most. So just be careful, guys, if you are new to survival or stuff like that. Always remember that aluminum, when folded, can get flimsy on the folds, and you will not be able to count to a sufficient degree of certainty that it will retain the water you are trying to purify, and it's really hard to repair. So guys, I think that even a smaller cup would be a better choice than only counting on a piece of tin foil or some other kind of aluminum foil, like the one used on the plates, the small barbecue stuff you can use on your grill. These are great, but if it's too thin, it will break easily. If it's too heavy, when you fold it, it will break pretty much as easily. So I think the cup is way more versatile and a better thing to have, or a bigger container out of steel or out of tin that is big enough to boil enough water, a bit more water than just an Altoid tin box or a piece of foil. So guys, hope this helps. If you try or get into survival, stay safe, and if you have any questions, I will be glad to answer your questions. Really hope this helps, because I do prefer to say that than feeling guilty of not saying that, and knowing that someone got in a bad situation because he counted on only a piece of aluminum foil to cook and boil his water. So see you soon and stay safe. Cheers.